Okay, we're getting closer and closer to the NFL draft.
That's right, baby.
Shout out to all you one quarterback gang people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do us a massive favor. Show your boys some love. Hit that like button. We're still waiting to meet our record for one quarterback mocks, which I think is 300 likes. With your help, I think we can get there. The one quarterback people show up for likes, that's for sure.
Always.
Go ahead and comment down below who your favorite team is as we're preparing for the NFL draft and what you want them to do in the first or second round if they don't have a first round pick. Hey, we're going to do 2 rounds today of a one quarterback rookie dynasty mock draft.
That's right.
If you want to find the third round, that is bonus content that you will find. It's already up over on Flock Fantasy. Go to flockfantasy.com/land. Use our promo code LAND, LAND. That will get you 30% off your membership. And as soon as you sign up, you will have access every time we post bonus content,
That's
rankings, articles. But specifically, you're going to be able to see the third round already today of this mock draft over there. So, Badake, we're going to go back and forth. People know the deal by now.
Mm-hmm.
You had the 101 last time, so I will be odds. You will be evens. And here at the 101, I think this might be everyone's ideal spot. I could be wrong, but I think everyone is like, this is the dream scenario. Bijan Robinson lands with the Los Angeles Chargers. That would be really awesome to see, and I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to take him here. We don't need to talk about how good Bijan is.
Yeah, makes sense. I think it is the ideal. I would say this or the Cowboys. Those are 2 top landing spots.
Cowboys, that's a good point. Yeah, Cowboys would be hot.
The community really would love to see not Quentin, but Bijan going there. So speaking about Quentin, you already know what it is. My wide receiver 1. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's okay. If you want, go watch these other videos that we released of me explaining why I like QJ over Jackson Smith. He goes to the Houston Texans here in this mock draft. I like that landing spot for QJ. I think no matter what, there's a couple teams I don't like the Patriots, personally. So I am happy to take QJ here going to the Texans, especially linking up with my QB1 in CJ, as we can talk about that later.
Sure. Look, I'm going to sound like a broken record. There's 2 can't-miss players in this draft. You guys know this by now. Someone commented last time I said that. They said, Zach, how many can't-miss players are there? They said that in the comments below. Look, you guys know the deal by now. My wide receiver 1 since, a year plus now, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'll take him at the 103. He goes to the Tennessee Titans. This is a complete wide receiver, and I think the testing numbers finally put all that nonsense to bed. The best route runner in the class. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson said, hey, this guy's probably the best of us 3. And some people are saying that they're doing that to be good friends. Why would they have any, incentive to downplay their own skill set? Like, what are we talking about? But regardless, his film shows who he is. He goes to the Titans, who, by the way, in this mock draft, they have Anthony Richardson. They moved up to get Anthony Richardson and somehow kept the 11th overall pick. The mock drafts that we're using today are from Draft Tech.
Yes.
So if you want to know the landing spots as we talk about these players, we'll say where they went. But if you want to pull up the actual landing spots of the mock draft that we used, go ahead and check the description because you'll see a link to it there as we talk about it. But yeah, so you're up here at the 104.
Okay, so you take Jackson.
And I just think as well, like, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but like the last couple of mock drafts, people have been like, why wasn't this player draft? Why didn't you draft? What? Look at the mock drafts, because when you look at the mock drafts, you'll probably have your answer. Why wasn't Tank Bigsby drafted? Well, in this one, he went to the Rams in the 6th round. We're not going to draft Tank Bigsby in the first 2 rounds if he goes in the 6th round to the Rams. So anyway, just want to clarify that. You're up here at the 104.
Makes sense. Okay, let's stay with the Titans. The Titans really kind of have a Cinderella draft. They get everyone and more. Let's go with Jahmyr Gibbs, running back here. He goes in the 2nd round to the Tennessee Titans, and that's exactly what you want to see. And this indication means that Derrick Henry is no longer there, right? Them drafting him and understanding maybe Derrick Henry is there for 1 more year. Jahmyr Gibbs comes in, but maybe he is a pass-catching back for year 1, and then Derrick Henry leaves, and then Jahmyr kind of takes over that workload on the ground and in the air, which is clearly here, like Zach said, Anthony Richardson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Treylon Burks. It will be a deadly, deadly team here. And we're going to be talking about the Titans a little bit differently, I would say, if this is the draft for them.
Yeah. I mean, you guys should check out the landing spots in this mock draft. I don't know how they go up to 3 and get Rich and JSN and keep their second, but I assume, in this scenario, they give up all the future draft picks.
Yeah.
But this would be a franchise-altering draft. It just relies on if Rich is going to, be the dude. But Jahmyr Gibbs there, back-to-back Titans. That is so weird, isn't it? Like,
That's
it's
wild.
so strange to see back-to-back Titans in a mock draft. Okay, I am up on the clock here, and there's this belief right now that if you like Zay Flowers, then you just hopped on a train, and it's prospect fatigue. I don't personally believe that. I've been a Zay Flowers guy for about 2 or 3 months now, and he's just consistently been moving up my rankings, and unfortunately, he doesn't get first round draft capital. But if you look at this mock draft, only Johnston and JSN did. No one else got first round draft capital, but he goes with the 34th overall pick, so one of the first picks in the second round, to the Cardinals. So they move on from DeAndre Hopkins in this scenario. You got Hollywood Brown, Zay Flowers. Those are the wide receivers that you're kind of building around moving forward. And I'll take Zay Flowers here at the 105. I think he's an explosive athlete. He's a great runner, great route runner. The speed is there. I'm hearing people comp him to Steve Smith Sr. I kind of see it. I don't see the Antonio Brown. Like, I think that's like ridiculous ceiling, but I mean, I get it. It's hard to comp players, but I see truly a special player who similar size to Steve Smith. I actually really like that one. My comps myself was T.Y. Hilton and Eddie Royal. But I love this player, and if this is how the draft were to actually pan out, I mean, Jordan Addison didn't get first-round draft capital either, so it's not as if I'm overdrafting and missing out on Addison. It's just who do you prefer as a prospect? Right now, they're literally tied, and it's going to come down to landing spots and draft capital for me.
Yeah, completely understand that. And speaking of Jordan Addison, I'll take Jordan Addison right here at the 106. 106. He goes to the Indianapolis Colts, and look, this is your slot receiver, right? So you have Michael Pittman as the X, you have Alec Pierce as the Y potentially, and then Jordan Addison as the slot receiver. Not only that, he could be moved around as well. We saw in 2 different years. This past year in college for Jordan Addison, he was primarily outside. When he was at Pitt, he was more in the slot. So he's definitely a versatile guy, so which I really like, especially here for the Colts, who also gets a quarterback. Okay. You get, a quarterback in the 4th pick and also a wide receiver in the 4th pick, which we'll talk about maybe a little bit later if we do get to this player.
Totally.
So I definitely like Jordan Addison going to the Colts here with in the 6th pick, excuse me.
Yeah, and I honestly think that like Addison and Flowers are interchangeable here at the 105 and the 106 if this were to be the real NFL draft. I just have more troubles betting on Will Levis than Kyler Murray as a passer, and
sure.
We'll talk about that later when we talk about Will Levis. But again, I think they're interchangeable depending on what prospects you believe in. Okay, I'm gonna take the 3rd running back off the board here, Zach Charbonnet, and you might be asking yourself, why is it taking so long for him to go off the board? Well, he went in the 3rd round, and it was pretty much, it's late 3rd round. He went to the Bengals. So it's not this 2nd round capital that you feel in love with and it's wheels up. They got their guy type pick. He fell to the 3rd. We love the player. Let's grab him. And if they only spend a 3rd round pick, I'm not saying that they don't move on from Joe Mixon, but there's a scenario here in which Joe Mixon is there for a year. And maybe we're in this weird like Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon type scenario where it's like, okay, who's the guy year 1, and what does that mean for how people will perceive him in the dynasty market? So I'll take him here at the 107. Clearly will be the guy at some point. Just more question marks, I would say, with not getting the capital that we wanted, but the landing spot is really, really good. Yeah,
the landing spot is there, and it could be very, very interesting to see where Zach Charbonnet goes. Okay. At the 108, and this mock draft really challenges you because some of these guys don't get the capital that we expect, like the 1st or 2nd round capital, and some of these guys fall into the 3rd and 4th, and you have to question, you're like, okay, do I go here or do I go with talent? Do I go with capital? And in this moment, I'm going to go with talent and capital. Essentially, my wide receiver 4 in this class, Josh Downs, he does go to New England Patriots in the second round. Not a place that I love, a landing spot that I love, but I am betting on the talent here and what I believe and what I saw on film coming in, coming into this draft. So does he take? He is going to be taking over the Jacoby Myers role, playing in that slot, getting over 100 something targets in this past year. Jacoby did. So I like him going to this landing spot. Sorry, I like Josh Downs. I don't love the landing spot, but once again, I am betting on the talent and what I can potentially hope to see with Josh Downs. And there's not that much competition there either. So
exactly.
So we'll see.
And that's been my is advocation a word? I don't know. Someone look it up. That's been my advocation. If it's not, I've just made it up on accident. But that's been my advocation for the Patriots. People already make fun of us for how like small our vocabulary is. Imagine now what people are gonna say in the comments. But anyway, look, I've been advocating for the Patriots as not this awful landing spot that people keep saying. Like there is clear when a team has a clear need at a position, and then a talented player fills that need. It's like, hey, the offense can change now. Like there is a player to suit a change philosophically. Jeez, okay. Man, we're on a roll today.
We're here.
But it's the same way I felt about Garrett Wilson last year. Like people who had him as a one, I was just like, hey, if he's your one and he went to the Jets, big deal. Like he's going to be the guy there. Like don't overthink it. And I guess at that time we were like, oh, what does that mean for Elijah Moore? There was a lot of Elijah Moore hype. But anyway.
Yeah.
I think Patriots are a better spot for a wide receiver than people are giving credit for. And I think this is the right pick at the 108. It's definitely who I would have taken next. And yeah, you're in a tough spot here.
Yeah, it's tough. It gets
but
real
for
slim.
me, I can already hear people saying, you're kidding me. You're taking a running back who is this small in the first round at the 109. Yeah, I am taking a running back that is that small at the 109. He's actually, he was drafted in this mock draft. He was drafted ahead of Zach Charbonnet.
Mm-hmm.
He was drafted ahead of Chase Brown, Tajay Spears, Zach Evans, Abani Conda, Rashawn Johnson, Tank Bigsby. Like he was drafted ahead of all these guys that you guys love. He gets better draft capital, and he lands in what I believe is the perfect spot for him. If you were to look, and you could say that for a lot of guys, but specifically for A-Chain, this feels like a match made in heaven. He lands with the Dolphins in the third round. The speed on that team, what they tried, or I guess Raheem Mostert successfully did for a while there. Devin A-Chain can replicate that. And I'm not going to say he's a better player than Raheem, but at this point of Raheem's career, I would pretty confidently say, yeah, he's a better player. And I wanted to just quickly talk about an article that I released over on Flock Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the biggest knocks people, and you guys can see this if you sign up with our code, right? Little plug there. Unashamed plug. But I wrote a little article about Devin A-Chain. I said, could he be the outlier? And you can read the rest of the article there. But two things I pointed on in particular was the two things I've heard the most. He's too small. He's not good through contact. Okay? Well, what if I told you that if you look at yards after contact per attempt, which I believe is the most accurate way to represent that metric, he was better in that metric than Jahmyr Gibbs, Quinshon Judkins, who everyone has is like RB, 2 or 1 in his class. Blake Corum, who had one of the best running back years we've seen in 5 years plus last year. Eric Gray, Raheem Sanders, my RB1 in next year's class. He had a better yards after contact per attempt, better than Chase Brown, better than Sean Tucker, better than Abani Conda. And then other people the other thing that I hear is people saying, well, he doesn't have enough rushing attempts. He didn't rush the ball enough in his last year. He didn't even hit 200. What if I told you he had more rushing attempts than Zach Charbonnet? Devin A-Chain had more rushing attempts than Zach Charbonnet. He had more rushing attempts than Tank Bigsby, Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Evans. Do what you want with that information. Is there flaws in his game? Absolutely. It is not ideal, his size and weight. I hear you. But if anyone is an outlier, and players like this, Badake, I always say, I'm out. But
yeah,
I think there is a chance that he is an outlier. And I think this is a perfect spot. You can check out the rest of that article as well as, other things that we put out with the link in the description below with our code. But yeah, I'll take A Chain here at the 109. Little long winded, but I wanted to bring that.
No, definitely makes sense. Definitely go check out the article. Okay, at the 110, 110 here. And I think I might go someone that maybe you're not expecting or I'm not expecting, but there's a guy here and I'm seeing as like, how can I not take this guy? I
Okay,
like the landing spot.
I'm very curious now.
I just like the landing spot. I like the workload that he's going to be going into, and that's Roscoe Johnson, baby, going to the Dallas Cowboys in the fourth
Okay,
round. And yes, there are other people that went, like Chase Brown, which we talked about. When we get to him, we can understand. Tajay Spears is out there, and I've been kind of saying this for the past couple weeks. The need for a bigger running back and what is offered in the NFL draft is actually very slim, right? Like the bigger backs from 215 plus, there's only really 2 or 3 running backs, and that's Roscoe, that is Tank Bigsby, and I would say Mo, right? And I think
yeah,
there's probably maybe Eric Gray that fits into that category as well. But these are the guys that we have projected, and I have projected going in at least a third round here. Obviously, in
sure.
this capital, in this mock draft, he doesn't, but the landing spot is very intriguing. He takes over that Zeke role. And I'm not saying I'm not a Tony Pollard believer, but I think this is the bigger back, right? The 215 plus pound guy that's going to be the goal line guy for you. That's going to be the 1-2 punch for you. Not only that, well, Zach was just talking about Devin A-Chain not having so much opportunity. Roscoe didn't have opportunity because he was backing one of the best running backs in the league, right? I mean, only 142 snaps last year, 94 attempts on the ground for Roscoe in 2022 in Texas. That can be so
Mm,
much more at Dallas here. And mind you, he stays in Texas, right? He goes from Texas and he goes to Dallas. So this is really exciting. I like this landing spot. I would, I would, I would definitely take Roscoe over. I would say maybe the next guy you could potentially be taking because I like the
yeah,
situation a little bit more.
there's a couple players I think I'm still like I would make a case for him for sure here
Mm-hmm.
soon. But there's like a couple I'm like, ooh, I can't pass up.
Sure.
And I hear you. Let me ask you this: when it comes to Tony Pollard, for me, the two players that really scare me for his workload in this first year is actually it's three would be Bijan, obviously, Jameer, and Charbonnet. After
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm not saying that that it won't impact him, but I just think
Mm-hmm.
his role is like solidified as like the dude there. What role do you envision Rashawn playing? Just stepping straight into that Zeke role, or what do you think?
I see him taking the Zeke role automatically.
Okay,
Also having the ability to catch the ball. Not saying he's going to take a lot of
sure.
work from Tony Pollard in year one, but he can definitely be this guy that takes maybe he gets 5 catches a game, right?
Yeah,
Or that would
5
be
catches a game. That's kind of crazy. Think about that for a sec.
maybe yeah. If you extrapolate that, that is a lot. But one game he has 5, and one other game he has 2. Right, the max catches in the game he could probably have is 5. Right, but on the ground, I think he could potentially take that opportunity away because you need the strong, big body guy that they want, a guy that can pass block, especially for Dak Prescott, a guy that can get open in the middle of the field, do a nice little Texas route. So I like Roscoe, and I do believe he can definitely step into the Zeke role. Once again, there's
Mm,
really not many people in the 2 plus,
yeah,
215 size that is going to be out there outside of Bijan, Charbonnet, but we expect those guys to be gone, right?
yeah.
And that's why I think this is scary for Tony Pollard because he has that size, he has that ability to get open and be the big back in this backfield. With Tony,
Mm.
I think not that he's limited only to a pass catching role, but if they get the big body guy, then I can definitely see his limitations. But if they get a smaller guy like a Tajay, like
Yeah,
a Zach Evans, I can be like, okay, I might lean
sure.
Tony a little bit more.
Okay. I hear where you're coming from. Just to like get on the same page there for a second. If he averaged 5 receptions a game, that
It's
would
a
be
lot.
like fifth best amongst running backs last
Right.
year,
I
more
get
than Aaron
that.
Jones, Saquon, Alvin Kamara. So I feel like 3 targets a game feels more realistic to
Yeah,
me. But I
that's
hear you,
fine.
like he could be involved in the air.
Yeah, he
And I
could.
think that's what you're trying to say.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, there's one player that it's the perfect marriage of capital, landing spot, and need. The Bengals offensively, the only thing they haven't addressed is tight end. And I've said this before, like there's a real legitimate case to have Dalton Kincaid as your tight end one for fantasy purposes. He the difference between Kincaid and Mayer is that Kincaid is a specialist tight end, right? He's not someone that's going to line up in line very much at all. In fact, if you look at his usage at Utah, he's pretty much a receiver. Like he's lining up in the slot out wide. He's not lining up that much in line. Of course, he does his due diligence there. But for fantasy purposes, you can make a case. Like Dalton Kincaid is this specialist receiving tight end that the Mark Andrews of the world are, that the George Kittles, the Travis Kelce's are. Of course, they improved and Kittle is an incredible blocker, but here where I'm coming from. Whereas Michael Mayer is a more complete tight end. He's probably on the field earlier. But if this is how it were to pan out, and we'll talk about Michael Mayer here soon, I'm sure, I'm probably going Kincaid over Michael Mayer in this scenario. I think he's a better route runner. He's better after the catch, but he's not a more complete tight end. So he goes to the Bengals. They have a need. Like, think about it. They've addressed what have they not addressed really? They have wide receivers, one of the best groups in the NFL. They've addressed offensive line 2 years in a row. They have quarterback. They have addressed running back with Charbonnet and Mixon. It's like the tight end position. They have Irv Smith. Great. Irv Smith is like, yeah, it's like flicking a quarter into a wishing well. Like maybe it'll work out, but you address the situation here with Dalton Kincaid in one of the best upcoming and solidified passing offenses in the NFL. I'll take Kincaid here at the 111. And I know I've been advocating for waiting on tight ends, but in Superflex, it's harder to get them tight ends into the second round. I mean, you start to have to justify it, a little bit too much. So I'll go Kincaid here at the 111.
Yeah, that's fair, and that was what I was trying to do. I was happy with a couple of these landing spots for these tight ends because I'm a big advocate of going tight end early, and getting this guy because I do believe, I think we had this whole conversation, getting Dalton Kincaid, the longevity may not return as soon as possible. Maybe someone like a Roscoe, but
and I'll just say like if more running backs went in the third round, it's probably like
a different
story, but again,
100%.
it's all about you. Like the whole point of this exercise, guys, and Badake knows this, but like to let you guys know, is to use a mock draft as if it was real life, and then what will we do? How would we adjust? So yeah, I'll go Kincaid there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel like, once again, do you go landing spot, talent, or do you go best case scenario? Like there's two tight ends here. I like the landing spot for one, didn't get the capital. Right, the other tight end goes to a really good landing, has a really good capital, but not the best landing spot in my eyes. But maybe I'm not seeing that correctly. But I'm still going to take the guy with the capital. I'm still going to take my tight end one. That's Michael Mayer. He goes to the New Orleans Saints, and you know what? Actually, this is a good spot because Derek Carr is there, and he's had Darren Waller.
Exactly.
He has produced a number one tight end in the past, and Michael Mayer coming in fits that role perfectly. A guy that can block, a guy that can be a safety blanket with Chris Olave there. I think this is a perfect marriage actually with Derek Carr going to the New Orleans Saints, and this is actually a landing spot I would truly like. Now talking myself into it, so give me Michael Mayer here at the 112 going to the Saints.
Yeah, that's the right pick there. That's definitely the right pick. First round draft capital. To a team that really outside of Olave, like I like Shaheed, but outside of Olave, like, what are we working with long term?
Yeah.
I think he starts day one for that team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, if you're looking at the mock draft with us, now it gets a little bit messy. We got fourth round running backs. We've got some wide receivers who have gone earlier, but I probably won't have any stock of some of those wide receivers. One in particular, people know. I don't need to talk about it. I'm going to take a running back that went the fourth round, a entire round earlier than now his teammate Tyler Algier last year. I'm talking about Tajay Spears. I'll take him at the 201. He goes to the Atlanta Falcons mid fourth round. And with the amount of rushing attempts that team is set to have this year, I think Tajay is a safe bet. Hey, is Tajay going to beat out Tyler Algier? You let me know down below. I know the Tyler Algier stands are strong. And maybe it is Algier's jobs. He's definitely like the better, I guess his profile is better long-term in the NFL. His size is better long-term in the NFL, but I don't think he has the juice that Tajay has, and I don't think he has the film that Tajay has, even though he had a very good year in the Pac-12 when he was with BYU. But I'll take Tajay here. At minimum, I think they're splitting opportunities. at minimum.
And then that's exactly where I would lean, with Tajay. I guess just to put my 2 cents in. If this actually were to happen, I'm a little bit more hesitant on drafting Tajay because I think the build of Tyler Algier is a guy that will demand workload in the 50, 50-50, 60-40 with Tajay. Maybe he's just a pass catching guy hypothetically, or maybe he is it's just a rotation, right? And I think that's why I'm happy taking Roscoe a little bit early and understanding where I was going there.
No, I would go Rashawn over Tajay if it was available, but I just didn't want to go running back that early over those tight ends.
For sure.
But I will say, like, if they're completely happy with Algier, then they won't draft the running back, right? And if they do, it'll be the 6th or 7th round. In this scenario, I'm thinking to myself, they're going to give Tajay opportunities. I don't know, but I hear where you're coming from. It gets a little messy here.
Yeah, I definitely see the opportunity there for Tajay. Okay. I see one. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm going to go 3rd round wide receiver. And a guy that I really like, a guy that I think fits in this profile with a lot of these smaller wide receivers, that's Marvin Mims. He goes to the Carolina Panthers. He lines up there with Bryce Young. He was the first pick in this draft. And here at the 202, this is a guy that I really like, right? He's a guy that I believe, once again, I said it earlier, he fits with the draft profile and the body frame of what these wide receivers can do. When I say wide receivers, I mean the Zay Flowers, the Josh Downs. And I said this in the live streams as well, they all bring something different to the table, but the body frame is the same. So what does Marvin Mims bring? I think he brings versatility, a guy that can play in the slot and the outside, be a gadget guy, a guy that can really move around and bring some creativity to this Panthers team, which they need, right? So he can play this slot wide receiver, there with Adam Thielen. So I like Bryce Young linking up here with Marvin Mims at the 202.
Yeah. Okay, at the 203, there's 2 running backs I would love to draft here. So I might be playing leverage game a little bit too much here, but whatever. I'm going to put some respect on a player that I have grown to love. Shout out to Chris Sims. I think some of his takes are crazy, but I still listen to him because I want to hear his opinions. And then I will go and review film and make my own conclusions if I didn't see something that he did. Just review the film. He has Michael Wilson as a top 5 wide receiver in this class. I don't have him in that range, but if he does go in the 2nd round, the landing spot is awful, but I do think he's talented enough to carve out a role. He goes to the Steelers in the 2nd round. He's drafted ahead of Marvin Mims, ahead of Rashee Rice, ahead of Tank Dell, ahead of Kayshon Boutte, Cedric Tillman, Tyler Scott, Jonathan Mingo, Parker Washington. Like, he is one of the only wide receivers still left in the 2nd round here. And I'm just going to take the shot on him, take a shot on the talent. I have seen a little Michael Thomas as far as like his release package.
Little MT.
And it doesn't make sense to me why this, again, I'm trying to use this mock draft as if it was real life. If this was real life, does this team keep Deontay Johnson? I'm not suggesting that they absolutely don't. But there was talks about trade rumors. Do you look to move on from Deontay Johnson and have Michael Wilson, Pat Freiermuth, George Pickens, Calvin Austin kind of as your wide receiver core? I don't know. I'm just trying to put the pieces together here because I don't see the Steelers going 2nd round wide receiver unless they have a plan for him. So I'll take him here. Terrible landing spot, but great draft capital, better than I anticipated, and I like the player.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. The first thing that came to mind when I saw this Michael Wilson going to the Steelers, I was like, oh, just as Chase Claypool. And sure. I'm not saying that is what's going to happen. I'm saying maybe this is.
You mean like role, because they're nowhere near same.
Yeah, player. Exactly. I mean the role, right? So the role for Michael Wilson, he probably plays a Chase Claypool role his first year, and then like Zach was saying, the Deontay Johnson walks, whatever the case may be. All right, 204. I think this is where I'll go another tight end. I really like this landing spot. People were talking to me, Zach and I will offer this tight end along, the tight end that was on this team previously, and that was Dalton Schultz. But for me here, I'm taking Luke Musgrave going to the Dallas Cowboys, and he's no doubt going to be getting a role here. It may not be exactly what we expect. The Dalton Schultz immediately, but he's going to be integrated into this team. It's a second round pick here for Luke Musgrave, and I like this landing spot. And this is one of the guys I was talking about when I was talking about Michael Mayer, and I was like, "Ooh, Michael Mayer to the Saints, but Luke Musgrave to the Cowboys." Right? So that was one of the guys that I was kind of hinting to, but me getting him at the 204 where I took Michael Mayer at the 112, I think this is great for me.
Yeah, it sucks for my Jake Ferguson shares, but it makes a lot of sense.
So lucky.
Okay, this is where I would take Zach Evans. Welcome to the squad, Zach Evans. He goes to the Cleveland Browns in the 4th round. Dr. Seuss. I'm on my Dr. Seuss vibe today, but look, this is your Kareem Hunt replacement. As much as I love Jerome Ford, Zach Evans probably steps in as your Kareem Hunt replacement. I think Zach Evans is a better prospect, even though I do like Jerome Ford. So doesn't look like Kareem Hunt has a role in the NFL. In fact, I think I don't actually know if a team is going to sign him.
I don't know either.
It doesn't sound like it.
I don't know either.
But I think, put the pieces together. Nick Chubb, getting older, has had, seasons where he's missed 5-6 games, sometimes more. Kareem Hunt's had value. I think Zach Evans is the guy who steps in there for this team when that happens. And he's going to be playing this like 30% role, but the important touches like third downs, 2 minutes, and those kind of things. You're not going to take Nick Chubb off the field unless he's, not healthy, but I'll bet on the talent there.
Yeah, I would completely agree. All right. 3rd round. There's a couple 3rd round wide receivers that I really like here. And I might take this guy. And this kind of feels like a potential homer pick, but I'm okay taking this guy. And I'll take Cedric Tillman going to the Giants in the 3rd round. And I'm taking him because there's a clear role there. They need the big body wide receiver, and this is the only wide receiver they've drafted in this mock draft, for us. So I'm happy. And once again, does he take over the Isaiah Hodgins role? Does he take over the Darius Slayton role? And that's exactly what they've been looking for. And yes, you have all these other guys and Paris Campbell and everything, but all those guys are on 1-year deals, right? You draft Cedric Tillman, a guy that they can mold and bring up, and this can be, maybe a wide receiver too. Hypothetically, right? Wanda somehow is your wide receiver 1, or Darren Waller is your quote unquote wide receiver 1. Cedric Tillman here going to the Giants. There's a specific role that he will have, and maybe it's not this year, but potentially next year. So I'll take a shot here at the 206.
Yeah, I am a little bit surprised. Running back that you really love, you actually had this guy in the same tier as Rashad White in a previous video is still available.
Don't like the landing spot.
I hear you, but it's the same capital that Dameon Pierce got, and I'll take Chase Brown here at the 207. He goes to the Houston Texans, one of the first picks in the 4th round, and who knows what this backfield looks like, but at minimum he will be playing a receiving role for this team, and I think he's a good enough talent to eat into Dameon Pierce's opportunities. I'm not going to say he's going to take the role, but I think he has an opportunity to at least get a 50% share. Like that's the ceiling. He'll get a 50% share if he shows out at camp.
Yeah, I can definitely. The reason why I didn't take Chase Brown is because I think Dameon Pierce is a better talent. From what we've seen and from what I know, I agree that he can definitely eat into, I would say, the air. And I would say a little bit on the ground, but I think Dameon Pierce is a bigger body back. Once again, the 215 plus guy that makes a difference on this team, where Chase, I can definitely see him taking it because he has the attempt. He had the attempts in college this past year. But I think it does play more of a passing back than a guy that's going to be another like a 1-2 punch guy. He can play the role, but I don't think that's going to be where the Texans envision him. In my theory.
I hear you. That's been my opinion of Chase Brown since day one, is that he wouldn't be this workhorse guy, but probably play a complementary role. So yeah, I definitely hear where you're coming from.
I definitely see that. Okay, I think this is where I go quarterback here. 208. I feel confident. You guys know me. I'm happy to take my QB1 here in CJ Stroud. He goes to the Houston Texans. He gets Quentin in this mock draft. He also gets Chase Brown in this mock draft. So I'm happy to go here with CJ Stroud. This is my upside guy. I know everyone's going to talk about Anthony Richardson, which I'm pretty sure was going to go next here. So go for it.
Yeah, there's no need to waste any time. My quarterback in one quarterback mock drafts is Anthony Richardson. He goes to the Titans. And keep in mind what we just said earlier. The Titans got Jackson Smith and Jigba. The Titans got Jahmyr Gibbs. This is imagine this offense now. A-Rich, Jahmyr Gibbs, JSN, Treylon Burks, Chigakonkwo. A-Rich is set up for success. They just need to figure out that offensive line, which they can do through free agency next year. But or probably not the draft. They probably gave up a lot to move up to 3. So he goes as a 3rd overall pick in the draft to the Titans. I'll take him here at the 209. Shooting for the ceiling, shooting for the rushing upside. I'll take A-Rich there.
Yeah. And I'm going to continue with the quarterbacks because, once again, this mock draft is pretty slim everywhere else. I'm just going to have one more pass through. But, yeah, I'm going to be taking Bryce Young here, going to the Carolina Panthers with the 1st overall pick. He gets Marvin Mims. He has Miles Sanders and Adam Thielen, whoever else they bring in potentially, whatever other moves they make. But I like him here at the 210.
I've done my absolute best to let Jalen Hyatt fall. I just was waiting for you to draft him.
I always do it.
But I can't let him fall anymore. I'll take Jalen Hyatt here at the 211. I think if this is his capital, you're probably going to see him before like Marvin Mims, who went at the 202. This is just a player that I'm out on. So I didn't anticipate drafting him, but I can't let him fall any further.
No, it makes sense. Sometimes you just got to go and get it. Okay.
So this is your last pick here.
This is the last pick, and it's pretty slim, I would say. It's not people that I absolutely love here. But I think I might go with a 1st round tight end.
Yeah, I agree.
Darnell Washington goes to the Buffalo Bills. Whether he's an offensive lineman, whether he's an actual tight end for this team, kind of plays into that Dawson Knox role. Maybe they have 2 tight end sets, whatever the case may be. Here at the 212 in the 1st round pick for Darnell Washington, I think I'll take a swing here with the big boy.
Okay. That is the end of the 2nd round. We are about right now to get straight into the 3rd round, but you guys will be able to see it on Flock Fantasy. Again, use our code LAND, LAND, when signing up over on flockfantasy.com, and you will be able to access the 3rd round right now. It's already going to be released over there. We're going to go back and forth. I'm going to start at the 301. So if you want to see the video, we'll see you over on flockfantasy.com. Click bonus content, videos, and then you're going to see this 3rd round. But for those who are only seeing the 2nd round, all love. Drop a like to show some support. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content. We'll see you guys in the next video. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy. Even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.